Hello, my name is Ståle Hansen. I'm here to talk about the 12 days of Viva. This is day number 7, and we're gonna talk about how to create engaged frontline workers with Microsoft Viva. Before I start though, let's have a look at my Christmas ornaments here, right? And then if you really look closely, this tree is actually hovering and it's like spinning eternally. So I think that's just really cool. I just wanted to show you that. But before we move forward, let's talk a bit about frontline workers. Frontline workers are those mobile first users. They primarily use a mobile. Either they are a chauffeur, maybe they are in retail, but they could also be information workers that primarily use a lot of mobile. So what can we do with Microsoft Viva for these mobile users? Let's have a look at this animation where we're looking at how we can then consume information and inform. The goal is to make sure that everyone is informed of what's going on. And best of all, if you are able to involve your frontline users, your mobile first users, so that they are informed of what's going on in the corporate side of things, in the administration, and what if we could have involved them more with what's going on? Here's an example. If you are a retail worker, you're working in a store, and who knows best on what kind of marketing is working, what kind of setup is best for them and for their customers and what they have experienced. What if these people can be easily involved into developing the next setup, the next way of marketing your products in the store? What works best for them? What gives them passion to talk about this for their customers? What if they easily can get involved by being able to log into Microsoft Teams and be able to like sign up for those kind of research program and put their hand forward for being more involved with the organization and have those ideas spread internally in the organization? It's not just like a marketing top down solution, it's more like people being able to contribute in order to do more for the organization. What does that look like in terms of that getting that message out in the organization? Here's an example. It's Viva Connections. Viva Connections works on Teams mobile, on iOS, on Android. What's more importantly, and I'm going to talk a bit about this later on, is that it also works, and everything I'm showing you right now also works if you are onboarding those frontline workers, those mobile first users, just using a mobile phone and mobile number, first of all, and just an SMS code. And I'm going to talk a bit about that later. But Viva Connections with the dashboard is the way for people to access current information for them. What's happening when I get to the office? What do I need to know? What are the current routines I need to care about? And so on and so forth. That can be part of the dashboard. And it's then super easy for them to navigate and move towards being able to read the intranet, being involved in what's going on there. And keep in mind that the dashboard, that's integrated with who you are, which means that you can have different dashboards depending on what kind of users you have, or location, or region, and so on and so forth. In the Viva Connections dashboard, you can have SharePoint, Yammer, and Stream content, as well as your customized cards. You can have even third-party applications, and you can also have shifts, tasks, and so on as cards in those. So if you have like my upcoming shifts, my upcoming tasks that I need to worry about or think about, those are top of mind for me in the Connections dashboard. The goal here, and deploying Teams on mobile without Viva Connections today, I think is so you're missing out, because the goal here is to create that habit of having the Connections app at the top, maybe branded with your logo. If you go back here, you can see that you have your logo here and you have the name for your organization as well, which means that you are able then to make that habit of them going in and checking this before going to work. Maybe they need to go in and reschedule their shifts through the shift app, and they can look into what's going on in the office at the same time. Really cool stuff. So those are the sources: SharePoint, Yammer, and Stream. Additional in addition to your line of business applications and so on. But I also want to introduce you to Viva Engage. Viva Engage is Yammer inside of Teams. And you also get access to this just by signing in using your phone number and an SMS code. I think it's very important to emphasize on this so that you understand that it is easy to onboard for this in your organization. With the Viva Engage app, you also now get stories, which is kind of like Reels or the current story on Facebook, Reels on Instagram, and so on. Is a way for people to share their thinking. And I'm thinking here of a scenario where you may have a very funny person working in a retail store or something like that, creating sketches for like a TikTok, right? And posting that on Yammer, and suddenly that person gets like super popular within the organization, and people are sharing more and more fun stuff, which then creates more engaged user, more happy user, and they are just more involved with your organization. And maybe then at your like yearly convention for the organization, maybe you bring that person forward because now it's a known individual in your organization. It's a very funny person. People have like different skills than doing what their day job is, right? Or maybe they are good musical skills and put that forward in here as well. So you get to know people outside of like their normal roles. But it's also a way for management to talk about management stuff, like top of mind thinking, or I'm so happy to share that we did this, or I want to give praise to this person today. And you can start following people and see those in your timeline. But this is directly available through Viva Engage in the Microsoft Teams app, and especially mobile as well. But then we have the challenge of communicating with our users in larger organizations or in organizations where you have a lot of distributed teams. And that's where Viva Amplifies comes into the picture. So Viva Amplify is about spreading that information. So you create the information once and then spread it out into the organization across different platforms. And the platforms, those are Outlook, those are SharePoint, Yammer, and Teams. So you create the information once and you spread it out to the intranet, you spread it out into Teams channels where people get a notification, maybe you share it in the community in Yammer, and maybe I'm saying you should maybe not do this. And that's posted in Outlook as well as send it as an email. I'm thinking, don't do that internally. No, if you have to, do it, but stick to Teams, Yammer, and SharePoint, please. Thank you. But that's how to communicate and engage with your workforce. You give them Teams on their mobile, and it's easy to sign in. And then you give them Viva Connections, which then give them access to shifts and what's going on. And then you spread that information and talk about that information, involve users, and communicate with them through both Viva Engage, through the intranet, through Teams and channels. And then you can also distribute information using Viva Amplify. But let's take a step back. Let's take a step back because we need to talk about why we want this. Why do we want mobile first users to primarily use Teams on their mobile, even on their private phone? Why do we want to do that? So it is communication, it is involvement, it is engagement that we want to have in our organization. And it turns out it's really difficult to do that if people are on WhatsApp, if some people are on Facebook Messenger, if people are on Signal. It's really difficult to reach out. The moment we get them into Teams, you have a joint platform where we can discuss this, where we can talk about this, where we can share information, which means that by replacing these applications, we are able then to have them join to teams and communicate them with a good way. They can even communicate internally within their group, in teams and channels, and also in chat in order to keep the conversations going, reach out to your peers, and so on. So why I'm saying this though, because I did a session on this earlier today where I talked to a bunch of salespeople, and they said that like no of our customers say that they are using WhatsApp or Signal as a strategy. Of course, uh, organizations aren't using that as a strategy. It just happens by itself. People are self-organizing into those consumer applications because that's what they have access to. Maybe they don't even have access to email or Teams today because they are like out there frontline in front of your customers, but they are self-organizing in consumer applications. So one way to look into this is actually go on Facebook and search for your organizational name and see if you find any groups there. Like we who started in 2022, or we who started during COVID, or we who are new here, or we who like to work out in this organization, and so on and so forth. It's great that people self-organize, and I don't think people are trying to like, oh yeah, let's go and use shadow IT. I don't think that's the thing. I think for them it's more like, hey, let's self-organize. These are the applications I know about, and it works for me. So let's join here and keep the conversation going. So my suggestion to you is to rethink this and relaunch how to communicate internally by launching Teams as the replacement. At the same time, use the opportunity to educate people that it's not good to use consumer applications to communicate around work-based topics. Because we don't have any governance. We don't know who starts, who leaves. It's kind of random, so you need to know the person who is involved in order to get there. You can't like, if you're new or if you just want to join, then like, how do I join? I don't know, right? And how do people validate that you actually work in that organization? And this happens more often than you would think. So how do we do this? How can we make Teams that alternative so we get them into Viva Connections? I say that is SMS authentication. I think that's the onboarding process here is that you have your mobile number. When you sign into Teams on mobile, you then type in your mobile number, you get an SMS back, and you type in that SMS, and you're in. Yes, it's that easy. It's just as easy as logging on to WhatsApp or Signal, maybe even Facebook. The thing is, though, that we need to make it this easy in order to get into Teams. And then you get access to Viva Connections, you get access to Viva Engage, you even get access to Viva Insights. And the thing is that I have tested this. I have validated that it works with Viva Connections. I have validated it works with Viva Insights. I have validated that it works with Viva Insights, even for a user that is licensed with the Microsoft 365 F1 license. So from F1 license, F3 license, E3 and E5 as well, Microsoft 365 Business Premium, all of these can do SMS authentication. It's something you need to turn on under authentication in Azure Active Directory, and you can choose which users are able to do this. There's one more thing, and that is security. You're thinking, well, we do multi-factor authentication, so we can't do this. Of course you can do this. You can use conditional access in order to say which users are able to do this. You can even pre-register mobiles if you want to. And you can say that you cannot use SMS authentication, which is what this is called, for web-based applications. Only for mobile phones, and even for desktop applications, it's not allowed. So there you need to use a full username and password and multi-factor authentication. But in order for get 100% of your users over to Teams, SMS authentication. use your phone number, sign in, and so on. Also, in order for this to work, the number needs to be pre-registered. And that is something you can delegate to the manager that the user has. So the number has to be pre-registered. You have to log in with your phone. You need to get the SMS back. So you need to have access to your own phone number, which was pre-registered. And then you need to sign in, and you only get access to Teams. It does not work with Outlook, does not work with SharePoint app, To Do, or whatever, only with the Teams application. And from there, you can use app protection as well in order to protect the content inside Teams. And we can even say that in order to log on to Teams next time, you need to use bio or you need to use a PIN code, even though you don't have a PIN code on your own device. Of course, you need to have the discussion with your users in terms of, hey, can I use my private phone for this? This is work stuff. But you need to make it so attractive to be in Teams that how can I get Teams so I can like coordinate with my peers, join communities in Viva Engage, post my internal videos, my thought leadership, or maybe my funny videos, so I can get some internal branding even and stay up to date what's going on with my organization. If we can get to that point, we are succeeding. There is more though, and now we're going to talk about the serious stuff, because now we have shown how easy it is to sign in to Teams. We know why we want to be in Teams, because we get Viva Connections, Viva Engage, we can use Viva Amplify to talk to these people and all that. But we need to talk about culture. So, here, by the way, is the this is what you do. This is, you choose the user, and you have this the text message, which is SMS authentication, and choose users or groups of users, and it's like, yeah, it's super great. So what we need to look into is Teams and Teams culture. So I need to look into that, and we need to look into that together. Actually, I want to talk about what's top of mind for me, which is digital well-being and Teams culture. So, what is digital well-being you're thinking about? Well, we cannot say to users that they should use Teams and they should use all that, because then they are joining an application where it's very easy to over communicate. There's too many notifications, too much happening. So, in order to succeed with this, we also need to teach how to communicate in Teams. So, I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes to talk about that. So, here we go. So the challenge we have is social media applications, because Teams, it turns out, works like a social media application. You get a notification on mobile, you get notification in the app, and you can even get an email about that notification that you got on the mobile and the app. And then maybe you get a reminder even for that you got a notification in the mobile, in the app, and on the email. You get it, right? And the thing is, though, we had this for Facebook, for Twitter, for LinkedIn, for Instagram. But now it is work related, which means that the solution you have used up until today, which is unregister from the platform, you uninstall the app. I'm done with Facebook. I'm done with Twitter. I'm done with LinkedIn. There's too many notifications there. I don't want to be there. So that's why you are moving away from that platform. But we cannot do that with Teams, because if you do that, you lose the Viva Connections. You lose the Viva Engage. You lose access to communicate internally with your organization, which means you cannot log out of it. So you need to actually control it. And I'm not sure if you've seen this documentary on Netflix, but if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And you're thinking like, oh, but Teams is an enterprise application. It's not like that. Well, this documentary on Netflix, The Social Dilemma, talks about how they have spent the past 10 years hacking your attention. You are conditioned already in order to spend time inside applications, and Teams is just one of those applications. So we need to take control of this. I'm not saying you should I'm not saying Teams is bad. I'm not saying social media is bad, but it's bad if it's handled in the wrong way. If you're not handling the way Teams is informing you, if it gets overwhelming, that's the challenge that we have. So here are some old numbers for Teams: 115 million, right? And that was like 2 years ago now. Now it's 270 million daily active users. It's the same way that social media applications measure this. So Microsoft definitely pays attention to how many daily active users they have in Teams. So they want you to bring time, spend some time in there and bring you in there. So this is the number one skill for the 2020s, I believe, in order to succeed with taking control over notifications. So that's what we want to talk about. But before we really talk about the notifications, we need to create a good foundation. And to do that, we need to have a proper Teams culture, and we need to relearn how we talk to each other inside Teams. So I just want to touch on this because it's so important that you think about this when thinking about those mobile first users. And this works for you. It works for your colleagues. It works for senior leadership. It works for everyone within the organization that has Teams on their mobile, not just those frontline workers. But we especially need to teach frontline workers this so they don't get overwhelmed or uninstall the applications. So I just want to go through this quickly. You probably know all this, so I'm going to go through it quickly. I just want to say that information is really good within Teams. It's formatted in a great way. You can have a header and you have a topic, and then the formatting stays the same across platform: mobile, web, Mac, PC, and so on. You can even embed pictures, videos, and so on. But this is important, right? We need to reply to a conversation, but this is maybe more important. You should not hijack a conversation and start another conversation in the conversation. So those people who say that, hey, search in Teams doesn't work, I'm saying, let me look at your Teams. And then I'm seeing they're using chat primarily. That's why. Search with chat is crap. Search in Teams and channels where you have proper conversations is awesome, right? So that's why we need to make sure we're not hijacking conversations and also always using reply and have a subject for our conversation. Have multiple conversations in the same channel. That's the point of having a channel. It's easier to give feedback using modern communication technologies like memes and GIFs and emoticons so that you can spread happiness. It's always a positive spiral when not your manager, but your peer says, "Hey, man, what you said in there, fully support it," and they say it in Teams in front of everyone else. Wow, wow! From that person that's not programmatically like entitled to must say something positive about you, actually said something positive, and you were like, "Whew! This made my day. This made my week. I'm so happy," right? So one more thing though, this is great for when you're giving information, is to get that information back by having people acknowledge that they've read and understood the content. So you can choose. This is a suggestion to use like as I have understood what's in there. I read it and I get it. So I'm giving you a like, so you know that, hey, that person has seen it. So I don't have to hunt you down and make you like it or make you read that message. Sometimes when you're sending like information out and then you get nothing back and you go and ask your colleague, hey, did you see my message? It's like, yeah, that was great. Fantastic. All right. Okay. Would be cool if you like, let me know. Or the other answer is like, yeah, I saw you sent a message. I haven't read it and I don't know what's in it. And I will probably ask you the next time I need that information. But good message, right? So this is read and received, and use those other reactions as well. But this one is important. How do we get attention to this information? And now we're getting into the culture part of this. So the question is, should we use channels or should we use chat? And it turns out channels are for chit chat, coordination of activities, and not for your day-to-day job. And one more thing, the moment you share a file within chat, it's stored in OneDrive, which is your personal space. It should be stored in SharePoint so the business owns the data and the process. So to run processes in group chat, that's a no. That's where search is horrible. It's difficult to have multiple conversations. You have no way of protecting yourself against the conversation that's happening. So that's a no. So what we need to do then in channels and in teams is that first we tag the individual, then we tag the tag, which is a bunch of individuals, which you need to set per team, right? So you can create a tag, which is per team. Next is the channel, and that's it. And the reason for that, it's only managers or team owners or special people that can do that should be able to tag the team, because you have no way of protecting yourself against notifications for the team. But you have a way for protecting yourself against notifications for the channel. You can go into the channel, you can go to channel notifications, and you can turn them off. And this is so important that everyone understands this at the same time, so that we reduce the number of over communication, the number of notifications that are useless to you. So you can go and say, hey, I'm in deployment. I don't care about adoption. So I don't want to be involved in those conversations. People can still add me by tagging me directly into that conversation, but they cannot. I won't see anything for that channel when they talk internally. But I can still get involved. I can still go in. I haven't deleted anything. I still have access. So that's important, people. So now we have Teams on mobile. We have the foundation, the Teams culture to do this. Still, though, there is one more cultural thing. I saw this on Twitter the other day. Actually, it isn't the other day. It's 2019. You can see it in the picture. So this has been going on for some time. And it said, "Dear people who send you Teams messages at 3 in the middle of the night. What the beep is wrong with you?" And because like people are sending messages like at any point of time in the evening, and then I'm saying, if you get distracted for a Teams message at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night, it's your own fault. Yes, it is. And then you are saying, oh yeah, but we have delayed sending now. This is a personal opinion here. This is a personal opinion flag where I'm saying that's technology trying to solve a bad culture. So the good culture is knowing how to communicate within Teams and then protecting yourself to get notifications at times where you don't want notifications. I don't know when you are working. I don't know if you're up 5 a.m. in the morning or 9 a.m. in the morning, or you work weekends or you work evenings. I don't know when you work. So for me, delaying a message 1 day, 2 days, whatever, I don't know when you're working. I don't know what's best for you to receive a message. I can assume, but that's just assuming you're like me. But you aren't like me. You are you. I'm me. I'm me. You're you. So I don't know your current situation. If you're traveling, maybe you got up early to get to the airport, and then you have had an hour to kill on the airport. If you had gotten the message at the right time, you could have worked on it. You could have answered. You could have processed it. But you got it at 8 a.m. and you were on a flight that day. And then it took over a day for you to respond, because I thought I was kind to you. I wasn't. It actually stressed you out to get that message that late. Think about that. Think about that. I think that's very important. So let's do it the other way. Let's do it like this. Go into your mobile, and this works on Android and iOS. This is an iOS device. go to your image of yourself, which is called the avatar. And then we go to notifications. We go to during quiet time. And during quiet time, I want to suppress notifications. And for me, this is 5 in the afternoon till 9 in the morning. Yeah, that's what it is. If you see it over there, right? Over there. And this is so important. There's one thing though you should know about this. It has to be invoked from manager, from leadership. Because if I do it as an employee, it's very difficult for me to like be part of the team if the rest of the team doesn't do this. We did this within Cloudway where I work, and overnight it changed the culture within the organization. Like instantly, people worked less or were less available in the evenings. They were available when they wanted to, and people were better at disconnecting. But everyone had the same expectation. We could have discussions in the evening, but that was your choice, not my choice. Your choice when I sent you a message. I was fine with you answering the day after. I was totally fine with that. So maybe I sent a message in the evening, and when I woke up, you already answered and processed the whole thing. For what I know, that's the beauty of quiet time. You can even have quiet days. So from Friday at 5 o'clock till 9 in the morning on Monday, I will not receive any notifications. I won't be pulled into work mode, and that's the important part. The moment you see a message, doesn't have to be important even. There's like a time going off in your head. Like, I need to answer this within 30 minutes. And you're starting to think about this, you're zoning out, brought into work mode, and it could take you 30 minutes to an hour to get off that work mode again. Turns out we need consecutive time of relaxing, of disconnecting in order to restitute, be rested in order to for the next day or the next week. So this is very important, and we need to teach this to frontline workers. The thing is, though, this can be deployed by your manager in Viva Insights. So the Viva Insights premium feature can invoke quiet time for your employees. It's not just that we have talked about it, but I implemented it for you. This is a big deal. And this is when it works. So think about that. It doesn't have to be just you doing this. You need to do it within the group, and the manager needs to agree, and it has to be a thing, and actually say, hey, I see you're answering in the evening. Are you sure you're using quiet time? Because I didn't expect you to answer this. I just wanted to do my thing when I did my thing. This is very important. So that's digital well-being. And turns out I talk about digital well-being a lot. So I managed to work it into this presentation too. It's not hard for me. We need to talk about Teams culture. We need to talk about notification culture. And then we need to talk about how we capture and process stuff. But that's another story. And that story is actually on YouTube. So if you go to msunified.net/digital wellbeing, you will find my 4 modules, like 8 hours of content on how to work smart within Microsoft 365, where I talk about Teams culture, notification culture, capture culture, and processing and executing on this. So have a look. So what did we talk about? Well, we did want to look into how we can move from consumer-based consumer communication apps. Organization won't say they are using that. WhatsApp is not a strategy. It happens. But you need to give them a better alternative so that you can take control over those communities, making sure that new people get involved quickly, making sure that people who are leaving are actually leaving. At the same time, you give them something more, which is Viva Connections, giving them that information and an easy way to get involved with the organization and be involved in all hands meetings and all that. So try to rephrase this as, hey, I'm going to teach you about these consumer apps. They are bad. Here's the alternative. And by the way, it's super easy to onboard. Let's do this. So Viva is all about growth, connection, insights, and purpose. I think we covered all these bases in this session. But if you want a more structured view of it, here is the unifying framework for Viva, where we talk about connection, which is Viva Engage, Viva Amplify. We talk about insight, which is Viva Insights, Viva Pulse even. I didn't mention that though. We have other sessions for the 12 days of Christmas for each of these. So we talk about purpose, we talk about growth, Viva topics, Viva learning, even Viva sales. But take a look at this. Viva is built on Microsoft 365. The security, the purview, and even the analytics that you have, same thing. So, and this is happening as well, that Viva Connections becomes the dashboard for Viva. So you don't need all the apps in your app bar. You only need it Viva Connections, which will be your jump station to Viva Engage, to be able to consume internal information and join the other Viva apps as well. Viva Learning, for instance, I didn't cover that. It's a great way to onboard your frontline workers too. So that's what I wanted to cover in today's session. Thank you very much for watching.